Alright everyone, we have another segment from Colonel-Majora.
He's going to do some legendary reflections about some of the stuff he's found out about the Zelda series.
Some things to think about.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome back to Legendary Reflections. This is Colonel-Majora, here to go over some stuff that you may not have heard about or thought of before. Back when I was first appearing on the Keaton Quiz, I felt the need to research some things about Zelda that I'd never thought of, just to keep my knowledge fresh. Between that and my exponentially growing levels of geekiness, I've learned some lesser-known facts about the series that I thought were worth sharing with everybody. So, I'm going to run through some interesting facts. Some things changed in the series for one reason or another, a few myths, and some things you may have thought were true, but are not. All of this is simply to expand your knowledge of the series, keep you interested in the details, and maybe even make future Keaton quizzes a bit more interesting. First and foremost, let's go through some games you should at least know about. There are many rare Zelda games worth checking out, but I think that some of them are more important than others. There's the broadcast satellite Zelda games, the 4 games that were broadcasted live in Japan in the 90s and are now only playable via Nintendo-approved online emulators. I've mentioned these before, so I won't go into details. There's the infamous CDI games, which, as horrible as they are, should at least be checked out with the walkthrough of Zelda Wand of Gamelon on Zelda Dungeon's YouTube channel. And there's the Japanese Tingle games. These include freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, Ripening Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, and Tingle's Balloon Fight. There is more material in Japan featuring Tingle, but I don't know of all of it, so yeah. Now let's talk about some of the lovely controversy surrounding this awesome series, which is the reason that a lot of content has been axed from the games over the years, or simply in the transition from Japan to North America. Mainly this time around, I'm going to go over stuff that was removed for religious reasons. This is simply because there's quite a fair amount of content regarding this, even for the little things. Number 1, the Bible was changed to the Book of Magic in Legend of Zelda, the original game. This is odd because, strangely, the cross was left on the bigger shield and the book, and there's a cross in Zelda 2 as an item. Things like this were often changed in the early days of Zelda, but for some reason people who seemed religious enough to actually be angered didn't catch everything, like the crosses. But then again, Zelda 2's palaces were originally called temples. Nowadays there are loads of temples, but I guess things were different then. Subtle religious references were always a toss-up of whether they'd actually be left alone or not. The Legend of Zelda Triforce of the Gods was changed to The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past in North America. Simply put, do not put God in your game's names. Ocarina of Time's Gyarados symbol was originally a crescent moon and star, but was changed because of its resemblance to an Islamic emblem. Also, Ocarina of Time's Fire Temple music was changed from this to this. Because it sounded like a Muslim prayer. There are several more controversial issues, but maybe I'll go over some in a future segment if I continue on the topic of little-known facts. Next, I'll just give you some interesting things that you might like to know. One, there was an interesting Nintendo Power Magazine contest that allowed the winner to have themselves in a future Nintendo game. This game turned out to be A Link to the Past, and in the SNES and Virtual Console versions of A Link to the Past, if you make a series of specific actions, you can find a rupee-filled room with a wall panel and a message from the contest winner, Chris Houlihan. Just a cool fact. Here's another. Different glitches in every version of Ocarina of Time can be used to make Link lose his sword completely and make it completely unusable. These glitches have all been covered in Game Trailers' Pop Fiction video series, so you should check that out. Also in Ocarina of Time, Epona was originally conceptualized not for Ocarina of Time, but for Super Mario 64. Another plug, if you can find out more development facts like this in Zelda 64 documentary by Happy Lemons on YouTube. So go check that out if you want. As a last random fact, Zelda is named after Zelda Fitzgerald. To quote Shigeru Miyamoto, Zelda was the name of the wife of the famous novelist Frances Scott Fitzgerald. She was a famous and beautiful woman on all accounts, and I liked the sound of her name, so I took the liberty of using her name for the very first Zelda title. Now some quick myths, this time all about Ocarina of Time. 1. The Hylian Loach is not originally from Twilight Princess. You can catch it in Ocarina of Time's fish pond, but it can be very difficult. Number 2. Getting the Triforce as an item is impossible. Many believe that it being in the beta videos of the game means that it is there. But again, pop fiction has covered this and proven it wrong. And number 3, the black cave-like hole under the ice in the future Zora's Domain does not lead to a secret dungeon, and certainly doesn't lead to the so-called unicorn fountain from the beta videos of the game. Finally, some common misconceptions. These are just things that some people believe is true, but has been proven true or untrue. First, people believe that Link never speaks. Not true. In Zelda 2, Link speaks his only full sentence he ever says. When you get the mirror, the text box that appears says, "I found a mirror under the table." No one else is in the house to use I as a pronoun, so yeah. There's also, of course, the phrase "come on" in Wind Waker, but yeah. Next, the name presumed to have been given to Ganondorf by fans. Ganondorf Dragmire. I always thought this was just something fans made up, and so did others I know, but apparently the English version of A Link to the Past's manual gives that name to him, as well as Mandrag Ganon, which means Ganon of the Enchanted Thieves, though this is only in the American manual. Finally, Hylian does not mean the same thing as Hyrulean. Hyruleans are just people from Hyrule. Some are just humans. The Hylians, or Hylia as a plural, are people specifically chosen by the goddesses to use enchanted magics, or the descendants of said people. If, as A Link to the Past's manual says, with their magic-infused blood, the Hylian people were endowed with psychic powers and skill in wizardry. It was also said that their long, pointed ears enabled them to hear special messages from the gods, so they were held in high esteem by many people in Hyrule. Their descendants settled in various parts of the world and passed on their knowledge and magical lore to all people. Basically, plain old humans are people who are far enough down a bloodline to have waned magic powers and non-pointed ears. The Hylia have pointed ears, and even though they may not know it, they have still got some sort of access to magical abilities. There are loads of interesting things about the series that a lot of people don't know, including me. I don't know everything, but I like to think that I know a fair amount. Leave a comment below the podcast post, or email me at colonel-majora@gmail.com if I should do another one of these factual segments. So yeah, give me a ring about it, and I'll see you guys whenever. So good day, good night, and good game.
Thank you very much for your segment, Colonel.
It was very informative, and I look forward to another one.